So this is our, we're kicking it off this morning, and we are just grateful. Today is August the 25th, 2022. And I am your person this morning to the table. All right, we want to welcome everyone to ABSOL Delicious, which is one of our programs, Eat Well for Better Health series. We are glad that you are spending your time with us today, because today is a day for a good day. All right, we have a great session set up for you today and in store for you with you in mind. So we're going to move right along. I am your moderator for today. Today's moderator, that's me. I'm Shirley Mims, and I, the Community Relations and Special Projects Director for Advocates for Community Wellness. Founder and Executive Director is Del Kane, and she is the one that's pushing those slides through today on my behalf and hers as well. And we thank you, Del, for doing that. She is a professional nutrition specialist. She's a certified cooking plant-based, and she has over 18 years of experience in the health promotion and disease prevention sector, coordinating wellness and culinary programs throughout the city. All right, so here is the Fantastic Four. Meet our wellness team. Of course, we have Del Kane, who I just introduced. Regina Hopkins is the Director of Health Education Programs Director. Sharia Moore Houston is our Community Engagement Coordinator, and yours truly, as I said, Community Relations and Special Projects Director. So we're some rough ladies and we get the job done. All right, about advocates. Here's a little bit about advocates. Advocates for Community Wellness is a faith-based, non-denominational, holistic health promotion and nutrition education without walls. We bring wellness programs to you in your community, where you live, where you work, shop, play, and worship. It is our goal to be an international health promotion and restoration of health ministry. We focus on providing information, education, promoting health, nutrition, healthy cooking classes, wellness programs, and teaching the relationship between diet, health, and chronic diseases. Wow, that's a beautiful thing. All right, ABSOL Delicious. We have a mission: improving eating habits for healthier lifestyle, increasing longevity and quality of life. And then we had to set goals. Gotta have the goals. To increase consumption of vegetables, fruits, and whole grains, and decrease consumption of animal protein. To encourage a more nutrient-rich diet plan for better health, and to reduce risk factors of chronic diseases and illnesses. And then last, to obtain a healthier weight through consumption of whole food, plant-based nutrition. And those are our goals. So we always start out with a biblical reference, and we're talking about the community today. The community is more than one, it's two or more. And so we want to stress that. And so our biblical reference says, though one may be overpowered, two can defend themselves. A cord of three is not quickly broken. That's Ecclesiastes 4:12, and that's the NI version. Thank you. And now, everyone, we have a guest speaker today that Del Kane is going to introduce.
Hi, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so pleased to introduce our guest speaker, Karen Coruthers Brice. She's a nutrition educator and gardener. And Karen and I, we have a little history together. We've been working together, I believe it's been over 10 years. When I was the Cooking Matter program coordinator, she had provided some nutrition education and co-facilitated that with a chef in some of our classes. So it's really great to be working with her again. So Karen, she's the founder of Keystone Educational Corner. She's the author of 2 books, Karen Exquisite Cuisine Cookbook and Winds of Change. Both books are available on Amazon. She is a bilingual Spanish, English licensed nutritionist and consultant. She has a bachelor degree in nutrition. She has a master's degree in education. She's licensed by the state of Illinois and the city of Chicago to administer food safety and sanitation classes. In fact, she's my go-to person that I do to get my sanitation manager's certification updated. I believe it's every 5 years. She's licensed by the American Red Cross to teach a CPR and first aid classes. And now she is a urban farmer and gardener. This is Karen Coruthers Brice. Karen, our theme for October is urban backyard farm and gardening. And today you're going to have a personal encounter with Karen. And so I'm going to show you a video.
All right, well, good afternoon. My name is Karen Coruthers Brice, and I started urban farming maybe 2 years ago. I am a nutritionist by trade, so I went to college for nutrition. And so this, though, is just been taken to a different level where literally actually growing from the garden and taking it to the table, as well as raising chickens and then having fresh eggs. So I enjoy doing this. I've been a nutritionist for probably over 20 years now. And this is just a whole nother level of working in the nutrition arena as far as dealing with growing the actual fruits and vegetables, learning how they grow from the seeds, and then doing container gardening, and also learning how to work with nature and chickens and respect each other and how that process goes. This is Moonlight. This is one of my baby chickens, and she's a very good girl. And then I have 4 other baby chickens and 3 big girls that are hens, and they lay blue eggs and also lay white eggs. And once some of the babies get bigger, they're going to lay brown eggs eventually. And so we're just really trying to farm from the backyard to our table and start urban farming. How did I get started? So 2 years ago in 2020, when the pandemic started, is when I ended up starting to find an interest in gardening. And I first started growing in the dirt. Some of this backyard was had dirt. And so I started a garden then, and it was very successful. And so I started growing like watermelon and green beans and okra, tomatoes, beets, all kinds of things, cucumbers, and it was very successful. So when winter hit in 2020, then I missed the garden during the winter. And so I really wanted to figure out how to garden year round. And so we ended up getting greenhouses and doing containers instead of doing it in the dirt. And so now we do container gardening in greenhouses. And when it gets cold, we can turn the heaters on in the greenhouse and zip it up. And the vegetables still grow very well, the fruits grow very well, and we just have to make sure that it gets enough water. But it's been pretty successful. So that's how I started, literally when the pandemic started. And I guess what triggered me was seeing all these long lines at the grocery store and not feeling like I wanted to wait in line outside of the grocery store for my turn to get inside. And so that triggered me to kind of start wanting to grow out of my backyard. How long have I been farming? Well, just started literally 2 years ago. But apparently, when I was speaking to my mom, gardening is in my family. My grandfather, who was a professor at Prairie View in Texas, he actually taught horticulture. And so it's been in my family for all these years and didn't even know about it. So I just started 2 years ago, and it's been fairly successful rather. First, like I said earlier, growing fruits and vegetables in the ground, and now learning how to do it in containers. So, yep, about 2 years. So some of the things that I chose, I felt that we would need to sustain ourselves. So we have peanuts in the garden for protein. We actually have soy for protein, so I have some soy pods growing, beets for iron, carrots for vitamin A. I have a banana tree in the other greenhouse, and in the banana tree would provide potassium. We have, what else? Chickpeas, protein, black eyed peas are growing. Oh goodness, I have watermelon growing and a fruit tree that's going to produce nectarines and olives. So I figured we would need a little bit of fat. Between the peanuts and the olives, we'll have fat, and that's a good source of vitamin E as well. And I have a fig tree on the other side in the other greenhouse. You know, just some things that are high in fiber. So I kind of looked at what a basic diet would need, and my family, the majority of us are vegan. Not all of my family is vegan, but the majority are vegan. And I kind of looked at our lifestyle and tried to decide, you know, what kind of foods would we need to sustain a healthy vegan diet. I'm trying to grow avocados as well. Let's see, we have tomatoes, avocados, bell peppers. That's good vitamin C. Cucumbers, rice. I'm actually taking a stab at growing rice. I'm growing oats. The oats turned out really well. Then I can make, you know, grain, bread, and oat milk. Looking at, we're growing soy. I can make soy milk, or, you know, make some tofu and things like that, have protein. I also have buckwheat that we're growing, so we can make flour. So that's kind of how I went along the way of trying to figure out how to grow different things from looking at the food pyramid. So we would need grains, we would need protein, we need fat, we need fruits and vegetables. And then with the chickens are an added bonus because we don't eat the chickens, but I'm the only one who kind of really eats the chicken eggs. And then recently I started selling the eggs. So the chickens help assist with the garden as well, because the eggs, the shell, it gets crushed up and put in the compost. And then the chicken feces or the chicken poop is also used as fertilizer for the garden. So it all comes around together, and then we're also able to eat the fresh eggs, which have a completely different taste than the eggs that you would see in the grocery stores. And also, as you can see, my chickens are running around, they're happy, they are free range, they eat very healthy, I know what I feed them. And so that's kind of how I just decided to grow certain things from, you know, just looking at what we need and what we like and what we eat on a daily basis. So, yeah. So when winter comes, as I said earlier, that's why we invested in the greenhouses, so that we can seal the greenhouses up, keep the warmth in, and we turn the heaters on that are inside in the ceiling of the greenhouse. And the greenhouse actually works really well by maintaining the heat and keeping everything away from the cold. And then we just bring a hose out from the basement and we'll water the greenhouses a couple times a week. And the greenhouses seem to be doing well. And that's the beautiful thing about container gardening, because we can kind of move the containers around where we need to move them around and not have to worry about the ground hardening up. I love farming. It's been such a joy just understanding like kind of what our ancestors have gone through as far as farming. I think that's in our DNA. I think we definitely, living in the city, we don't have that luxury of being able to farm as much as, you know, if we were in the suburbs with big land, or in the South, or living in Mississippi somewhere. But farming is just amazing. Just taking the time, investing the time and the money, and planting seeds, and actually watching these fruits and vegetables come to life and grow. It's just an experience. Coming to the coop and seeing eggs in the coop has been amazing. Just pulling out, you know, raising these chickens as babies and watch them grow and just find their purpose, and they know their purpose. It's interesting, inside the coop, they know which room they want to go in and lay their eggs, and that's where they go. It's been an amazing experience. I'm very grateful and blessed that we have a big backyard that we're able to do this. And I just kind of feel like just because we're in the city, that doesn't mean that we can't have a little bit of farming and gardening going on while we live in the city. Even for those who live in apartments, you can do indoor container gardening from small pots. You can do a little something if you have a balcony. You know, you might not be able to do it year round, but you can definitely grow a few small things and then bring them in the fall season, and then start to maintain them or keep them in jars. You can jar it and keep it in the refrigerator, or you can freeze a lot of your vegetables and vegetation. So yep. And in the wintertime, the chickens actually stay outside. They stay outside year round as well. They have a heater in the ceiling of their coop, but their feathers also tend to keep them warm. So right now in this hot season, they are a little overheated. Sometimes we have to spray them down just to kind of cool them off. But do I love gardening? Absolutely. I've learned so much. Some things have, failed, and through the failing of whatever didn't work, we learned how to make it better, or we learned how to just make it work and learn how to do better. So it's been a wonderful experience, and some of the things that I didn't know, I just look it up on YouTube University and figure it out, and voila, it works. So we have 2 greenhouses full of fruits and vegetables, and I'm really excited to see how this winter's harvest is going to go. But love gardening very much. It's very rewarding. The food is delicious. It's very nutritious. I don't use pesticides, which makes a huge difference. Again, like the eggs that are natural and organic makes a big difference in taste. The same goes with the vegetables and the fruits. I use a little bit of neem oil or hydrogen peroxide to kind of keep the bugs down, and it's all natural and it's very healthy for the plants. So I love what I do. And I think Miss Shirley had asked me, what body parts do you use when you're gardening? And so somebody who has bad knees, you can still garden, just get a stool, sit on a chair. And that's the other thing I like about container gardening, because you can bring the container up to the table level and you can bring it to your level, or you can stand and bring the container up, so you're not feeling like you have to bend over into the ground and do so much hard work. That's another thing that I like about container gardening. So, you use a little bit of your back. There's lifting of the dirt, but you can get people who are stronger and younger to help you lift those objects that are heavier and make it work. So container gardening, to me, in my opinion, is just the way to go. And it's great. It's a great way to do urban farming. So, yep. So this is one greenhouse that we have, and in this greenhouse, you can come on in with the camera, and we have cucumbers. Now, why this cucumber is yellow, I'm not sure, but this is a big cucumber. It's huge, and there's other little cucumbers that are starting to try to grow. Then we have little tomatoes that are going to start to grow here. These are green beans. This is dandelion leaves. This big tree here is going to be peanuts, but the peanuts will come underground. Okay, so that's really interesting. This is going to be a lime tree. This is a cocoa tree, and it's doing really well. Over here, we have thyme. This is some herbs, thyme. This is in between the weeds here. And the interesting thing is, believe it or not, come honey, come. Here, come honey, go ahead. You can eat it. So even the birds know, they like to eat the green vegetation as well. Go ahead. And these are oats. So now we have to take each of these and start to harvest it and get the oats in between each little leaf there. There's oats. These are beets. Our beets grew really, really well. So this is really exciting. And these all came from the container. The beets are ready to go. I can take these beets, I can clean off the leaves and eat the leaves, and then I can also eat the beets or juice the beets. Very delicious. This is rice. This is rice growing in this container. These are my carrots, growing really well back here. The wheat is ready to be harvested. What else do we have? Stuff is to kind of run into each other. We have soy back here. I don't know if you can see the soy. Here are the soy pods, if you can see. That's what they look like. There's some soy pods. Yes, here's some more soy. We have tomatoes. If you can see the red tomatoes growing. This is watermelon here. This is corn. We have corn growing. We actually have ginger. This is ginger in this pot. This is a pistachio tree trying to grow. And behind this is coffee. Everything is just running into, oh, here's another really big, beautiful cucumber. If you can see that. I don't know if you can see the cucumber. There it is. Here's the coffee tree. I mean, things are just going really, really well. Better than expected. This is what the coop looks like for the chickens. So they have, even when they're caged up, they still are able to run free. And then of course, when I come out in the morning, they like to come and run the whole yard, literally. And they get to, they're able to do that. So this little one here is a blue egg layer. And this little one here should be a brown egg layer. They like to eat fruits and vegetables just like we do. And then they also, there's their water container and their food container. And then they have food on the other side as well. So they also like to take dirt baths. They have buckets in here to take dirt baths, which is really interesting. And these are things you just find out by just watching what chickens do, and of course, YouTube University. And then over here is another greenhouse. And this greenhouse, we have bell peppers trying to grow. Some bell peppers here. This is going to be a fruit tree. This is asparagus. We tried to start some asparagus. Kale here, spinach. This is greens, collard greens. Now, interestingly, a bug got to my collard greens, so I had to fix that. This is lettuce coming up. This is sugar cane. This huge thing is sugar cane here. This is going to be an apple tree. And then we have more tomatoes. Our sunflowers didn't make it. We have here banana peppers and jalapeno peppers. This is a fig tree here. This is the olive tree. And this big one here is the banana tree. So the banana tree is doing really well. And down here we have a coconut tree trying to start to grow. Next to here we have chickpeas, and behind there are going to be black-eyed peas. So the other thing with container gardening, if you notice what I did so that everything would not be on the floor and take up so much space, I ended up putting in tables so that we could have double layers, you know, things on the ground and things above the ground. And then over here is some spinach trying to sprout out. So this is new, and can't wait till the spinach is ready to make some good salads. Avocado didn't make it, but we're gonna try again. Some things made it, some things didn't. Most things made it, so I'm very proud and very happy with the success of how everything is doing well. I don't know, butterflies and caterpillars and all kind of bugs, flies, and grasshoppers have found their way into the greenhouse. It's interesting how nature will just find its way in and help themselves. So this is one of the natural products that I use, neem oil, and it helps to keep the pests and the bugs down. So I need to apparently get some more because they got my greens, but we're gonna try again. But this is good. Hydrogen peroxide is good as well, and it also gives the plants oxygen. So these are the greenhouses and the chicken coop. And I'm Karen Coruthers Brice, and thank you so much for joining me today for Urban Gardening.
Thank you, everyone. So I did see a question. Thank you, Dale, for this opportunity. I'm very, very passionate about what we're doing. Actually, we have an empty lot in Inglewood that we're eventually going to make into a larger farm. I did want to address the one question.
Yeah.
So yes, everything has separate containers. I know it looked like everything was running into each other like in one big pot, but believe it or not, everything has its own container, but the cucumbers have literally started at the entrance of the greenhouse and have wrapped their way around to the back and almost come around. They are so interesting. They will grab onto things to support themselves, and they are literally taking over one side of the greenhouse, like spilling over the peanuts and the soy, and I have cucumbers hanging over the soy pot. But it's all worked itself out. As you can see, the sugar cane grew so tall. Now a lot of the trees that I have are dwarf trees, so I did not make the mistake to try to get full grown trees. Being in the city, I would have to leave those in the greenhouse. So the apple tree that you saw is going to be a Honeycrisp, but it's dwarf. That banana tree is going to be a dwarf tree. So when it's like a dwarf tree, it's like 4 feet or less, which is going to be good because I can't deal with anything 6 feet and above. Clearly not in the greenhouse. The lime tree, and I will start to work with lemon. I tried lemon, it didn't go so well. I'm gonna try again, but those are dwarf trees as well, so that I won't have to deal with the height. But everything has its own pot and its own container. But nature, this is nature. You can only contain it so much, which
You can't.
yeah, you can only
So
contain
much.
it so much.
We're gonna come. I am just over. I just can't believe all that stuff that you should call it Karen Coruthers Brothers Brice grocery store. Go up in there.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Girl, you got a grocery store up in there. I
That
got
was my point.
you got a grocery store in there, and those chickens love you. They know who mommy is. They know who the queen
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. When it's so funny, they're worse than my dogs. When I come out the door, they run.
Really?
Oh, they're terrible. And they run the yard with the dogs, which is funny. And they're not allowed to run the yard unless the dogs are out to babysit them, because then the cats will jump over the fence.
Oh, my
Those stray cats.
Going on
They're
over-
large dogs too. What breed?
Yeah, they're big dogs. We have 2 big dogs, but they have to babysit
What
the
breed do you
chickens.
have?
They're boxers.
Yeah, they're
Yeah. But the babysitter's got to be on the prowl so the chickens can run loose.
Oh my God. Oh, we're so excited, Karen. You're just oh my God, this is just a treat. I'm coming with my shopping bag, okay?
Yes,
I got
ma'am.
to shop at Brice's grocery store. That's all I got. So
Are there any other questions from the participants that are on? We're so glad that you join us.
yes, we are. Yes.
You can either by phone or in person. If not, we have a couple more questions for you.
Oh, sure.
I have a
Oh,
question.
sure. I have one. Hello,
Okay,
can
go
you hear
ahead.
me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Dale, and all the other hosts. This is Joshua Ross from GAGDC.
Oh, hi.
My question for Ms. Coruthers is where would be the best place to source containers? I know those can be expensive depending on length and things like that. So what's the best resource for someone looking to get started at a capacity, my apologies, similar to yours?
Okay, sure. So that's a very good question. So remember, I started 2 years ago, right? And I think in 2021, I realized that growing in the ground was great, but it would not be year round. So when I realized that, I literally started buying containers when they were on sale in 2021, so much to the point that I have an abundance of containers sitting in a storage area waiting for me to pull them out because I knew that prices were going to go up. So so I jumped on when Target had them on sale, when Walmart had them on sale. I ended up getting a quite a few from Walmart online. But again, they were a little cheaper. I've noticed things have gone up. The places that I don't recommend that cost too much, in my opinion, are Home Depot, Lowe's. They're their selection is limited and the cost is fairly high. Menards might have some decent prices, but I would just maybe try Walmart online, and they'll notify you too when things go on sale. Try Amazon. They'll notify you when, you know, things are cheaper, and then see if Target has anything on sale, or Walmart in the actual store. Do we have Kmart's anymore? I don't know. Is Kmart still open?
No.
I didn't think so. Yeah. So those were where I got mine. Walmart in the stores, Target in the stores, and Walmart online. But I bought mine in bulk because I knew that I was going to, you know, have those 2 greenhouses and try to grow any and everything possible. And I'm not done yet. You know, I've started with coffee and rice and, you know, just weird things that people wouldn't really think to grow. So I knew I needed a lot of containers. So if you also get them in bulk, you can get them at a cheaper price as well.
Karen, are your containers like storage containers?
Yeah,
No, like,
correct. Yes, like the ones that college kids would take off to college to move. They're like totes. They're the
okay, so
clear totes.
how do you put the drainage, where the drainage holes?
Right.
Yes, so that's a very good question. So
Mhm.
so this was a project that I did in March, because when I started planting in April, which was a good season to start planting because now the harvest is growing. But in March, I started to prepare my containers. And so you have to take a nail. This is what worked for me. I took a nail and I put 3 holes on the long side, so on the horizontal side, and then on the width side, on the shorter side, 2 holes. So there's holes all around the side. I put a nail, and then once the nail was in there, you know, almost halfway, I took a screwdriver, an electric screwdriver, and drilled the nail in the rest of the way, and then pulled the nail out. And then that was my hole. And then once that hole was made, then I would take the electric screwdriver itself and go in a little bit more in that hole and pull it back out. It would make it just a little bit bigger. And that's really how I did it. So it is a little labor intensive. I mean, it's not that difficult, but just take a little nail and an electric screwdriver is what I did, and punched holes all around each container. But because I had so many containers, it took me a while.
I
So
want
the
to
holes,
I have a-
the holes are not on the bottom, they're on the side.
They're on the side. I made the mistake. So the year 1 trying to do container, I made the mistake of punching the holes on the bottom. Well, guess
Oh.
what? I mean, it works a little bit, but if the container is sitting on the bottom, it's not going to drain as efficiently. So that's why we needed it on the side, so that when it sits on its bottom, it's draining from the side. And then the next thing you want to keep in mind is each container, now not every one, so you have to know your vegetables. So for instance, beets and carrots, those are root vegetables. Peanuts, those are root vegetables, right? So if I'm not growing a root vegetable, for instance, if I'm growing green peppers or tomatoes, you on the bottom of your container, you want to put hay or leaves or newspaper or copy paper, shredded paper. You can do shredded paper, hay, large pebbles. I wouldn't do the pebbles because it would just be too heavy to lift. But what I did on the bottom of my containers, I put holes on the side, and then I put hay on the bottom. I stuck with hay because I wanted something natural. I'm not sure about the ink in the paper, you know, from the newspaper. But I mean, some people do use newspaper and are very successful. It's not a big deal. Me, I just wanted, you know, you can use twigs, leaves. I used hay. You put a little bit of that on the bottom, and then the dirt goes on top.
Okay.
And what's the purpose for that?
That's a good question. So the purpose of that is so that when you're watering the containers, the mud doesn't get, the dirt doesn't get muddy. So it gives that space where then the mud, then it starts to be like a mud paste, and then that's going to plug your holes. So you want to have the drainage, and you want the dirt to be nourishing, but you don't want to turn it into mud. And then it makes it lighter too, because if you have all this dirt in this container, it's very heavy. But if you have a little bit of hay and paper at the bottom, and then the dirt, and then the seed, it's not as heavy, and your drainage is better. And it's healthier for the root. So if you think about a root being caked in mud, it's not as healthy. And then it could possibly, we have to be careful not to drown our plants either. To drown them.
This is Emma from Texas. I'm really enjoying it. It's hard to grow vegetables here in this hot sun. But I wanted to know the soil that you use to, is there a specific soil that you would suggest for growing some healthy vegetables?
No, I use any soil that's available. I don't care if it's potting soil, organic soil, or regular soil. What I do to nourish my soil is I crush my chicken eggs in there. So after we eat our eggs, after I eat my eggs, I'm the only one who eats the eggs. So after I eat my eggs, I put the shell in a Ziploc bag and I crushed it up. I also put coffee grounds because I make my own coffee grounds, eggs, any old vegetables that have rotted and gone bad. I never throw it away. It goes in my compost pile. So, and then of course I use the chicken poop and mix it in there for the fertilizer. And so I make my own compost, my own fertilizer. So it doesn't matter what kind of dirt you use, because now you're giving it the nourishment that you need. Now you should be careful. For instance, if I have old bell peppers that have gone bad, I didn't get a chance to eat them, and I want to put it in my compost, you want to take the seeds out, because what's going to happen is and I learned this because I was growing red onion, but I didn't realize there was a few tomato seeds in that dirt. Well, in that container, I have red onions and tomatoes. I mean, they worked itself out, but I was kind of like, this is not a red onion. Well, lo and behold, the tomatoes started growing because I was throwing compost in, like wham, wham, wham. Well, you have to kind of be careful of the seeds, because those seeds will regrow. So, but again, the dirt, I don't think there's any special magic to the dirt. Just if you're eating eggs, save your eggs. If you make your own coffee, save your coffee grounds. And one thing I also find is the coffee grounds helps to keep the chicken poop smell down. It really works. And it's also nourishing. And then another thing that I've really learned, these three things are kind of really good for the garden: vinegar, white vinegar, Epsom salt because of the minerals, and hydrogen peroxide to keep the pests. So that's if you just want to natural. So I got a little bit of Epsom salt and I sprinkle it in the dirt as well. And then when I'm done with everything, I'll spray it with hydrogen peroxide, which gives it that oxygen and keeps the pests away naturally, or I use the neem oil. Clearly my greens needed something more stronger than hydrogen peroxide. So I had to invest in the neem oil. But those are the types of things that I found that makes the dirt very nourishing. So compost, fertilizer, hydrogen peroxide, and Epsom salt.
Hydrogen peroxide. Are you talking about the hydrogen peroxide that you would get
in the brown bottle?
Yes,
ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. We're doing this inexpensively, but we also want to do it healthy. So just because we're skimming on the cost doesn't mean that we're going to sacrifice, the end product.
Well, we just have a few more slides, but we're not finished. We want to be mindful of people who have to go at 12, but we do have an after talk. This came from a suggestion from one of our participant and strong supporters, is to have some discussion afterwards. So you are invited to stay. We stay on another 10, 15 minutes and talk shop with our speaker, or any questions that you may have. So
I think Miss Aura had a question. Miss Aura, did you? She kept trying to talk and raise her hand.
Okay, go ahead, Miss Aura.
She just kept trying. I said, let me find her name so I can call you out. Yes, Miss Aura, please.
So I'm just going to transition to the slide, but go ahead and ask your question.
Okay, I am a gardener and I've been doing this, I think, for about 10 years. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, and Joshua asked you a question about where to buy the containers, and you gave him a list of places. What I do
Mhm.
You can go to resale shops,
Thank you.
Goodwill,
Yes,
wherever.
hello.
If you live
There
in
it is.
Chicago, if you live out here, there's the Goodwills and these
Yes.
places.
Yeah.
They do not have often the tops. So you
Yeah.
don't need a top.
Don't need
Don't
them.
need a top.
So
Yep.
if he's paying $1.99, $2.99 for a container, all
Yeah.
he needs to do, he can clean it out, use
Mhm.
what is that? Bleach or something to sanitize it, and it's a go.
Yeah.
Oh,
I would be careful with the bleach, but yes, you can
That's
sanitize
something
it.
to,
Definitely.
that's something to sanitize it and
Gotcha.
whatever for the pest or whatever
Yes,
that was
yes.
in there.
That's a good
So
idea.
But
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, it won't cost a fortune. That was
Yes.
one of the things that I wanted to say. And one other thing, I'm just trying to figure out, and I live out in the south suburbs.
Mhm.
You mentioned a greenhouse and the chicken coop, which is of interest to me. But I'm trying to figure out what did you, in terms of your investment
Mhm.
that you initially put into this?
Mhm.
join us for our next Eat Well event, September series, Healthy Aging Awareness Month. This is our September series. It's usually on the Thursday. The time, here are the dates. It's from noon on Central Standard Time, starts at 11 o'clock. And Absolute Delicious Eat Well for Better Health. This is what we're going to put to the table. Healthy Aging Awareness Month. That is the month for September, and that's my birthday month. So I guess I'm aging.
Nice too. You gotta have some cake.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, well, that's aging. Cake is good. All right,
Yes.
so September the 8th, September the 22nd, and September the 29th. We will be sending out information, and we ask that you register and join us, and that is a beautiful thing. So we're looking forward to September. We're looking forward to September. Thank you, Dale. All right, so now we're gonna be closing out here. This is how you can stay in contact with us and learn more about our programs. You can go to our website. They'll give you all the programs that we have, and go to www.A4CW.org. You can email us with any ideas or suggestions, because the table is open for you. You are our audience, and we want to do things to help you as well as ourselves. So our email address is info@A4CW.org. And we have an address here, which is in Chicago, Illinois, 815 West 63rd Street. And then we have our phone number if you just want to leave a message for us, and we'll return the call. That's 708-300-9072. And then our social media, Advocates for Community Wellness, we have Facebook and Instagram. So please show us a little love. You know, we love it. All right, so now this is our closing prayer. We always close with a prayer. I pray that God continues to bless us and show us favor in all things. Thank you, God, for forgiving us as we forgive others for our sins we do not realize we commit. Lord, please fill us with your wisdom and your compassion for others. Amen.
Amen.
Amen.